Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel In Search of Wonder. This is my weekly wrap-up. So it is Wednesday now, and I have a few hours in the afternoon, so I'm going to get my weekly wrap-up started. I actually have, I think, 4 different things in progress at the moment, and 1 book that I have finished. So anyway, as you can see, it is a, well, I don't know how well you can see it, but it is a lovely spring day here in Virginia. A little bit cloudy, but I think we got up into the 70s today. But, you know, the minute it turns spring in Virginia, we get these really warm days and the humidity starts. So this morning, I actually took the time to curl my hair and everything, and it looked all beautiful and stuff. And then I was outside for 20 minutes doing car line, and yeah. So, but I know y'all don't care about that. We are here to talk about books. So the books. First thing I read was for Alcott April. I read, sorry, I'm in a parking lot here, as you can probably tell, and I see somebody getting into the car here, putting their kid in their car, I think. Anyways, I'm always a little self-conscious, like, can they tell, like, I'm talking to myself on the camera here? It's a little weird. But anyways, we're just gonna be weird. So I read for Alcott April one of her short stories, which was what she called, sometimes she called them pot boilers, and sometimes she called them her blood and thunder stories. I think that was Joe's term in Little Women, was blood and thunder stories. Anyway, so I read one of those from the collection I have of her short stories. She wrote it originally under her pen name, A.M. Barnard, and it was called Behind a Mask, or A Woman's Power. And it was very interesting. Nothing like Little Women or any of those stories. Nothing like that. Very mature and sophisticated worldly characters in this book. Not at all like the innocent, wholesome, salt of the earth kind of characters that are in her literature that's aimed for children, like Little Women, etc. Very different. It's set in England, in, like, you know, among the nobility. I think that the family that it focuses on, their I think the uncle is either a sir or a lord or something. I forget now. I finished it on Monday, so it's been a couple of days. Anyway, they're members of the nobility. The main family lives in, it seems like maybe like a dowager house kind of thing, because the single uncle is actually the titled one. And so there's a mother, her 2 sons and younger daughter, and then a niece, or who is a cousin to the other kids in the story. Well, they're not kids, they're all grown by this point for the most part. A governess is hired to teach the daughter to kind of like finish up her education, because the mother realizes that, you know, she hasn't been able to get her as far along as she wanted in accomplishments like language and music and stuff. So she hires a governess, and this woman was sent to her, the governess was sent to her by another family. And right away in the beginning of the story, you can tell there's a little bit of mystery there. Like, she was recommended by the mother in this other family, but the son in question, the grown son, has disappeared. And the governess had been in the hospital for some weeks, and she was ill, but there's some mystery surrounding her illness. And right away in the first chapter, Louisa May Alcott, aka A.M. Barnard, gives you a little peek into who this governess is, and you realize she's not who you think she is. But there are a lot of layers to this story, even though it's a short story. It's like 5 or 6 chapters, maybe as many as 10 chapters. I don't know, but it's not. It's like I think some people call it a novelette. I don't know. It's not really long. You get a little peek that she's not who she says she is, but then that's not revisited again until closer to the end of the story. So she's basically like a well, I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't tell you any more than that. That much you find out in the first chapter of the story. So the power of a woman is an interesting and not a misleading title. It just goes in a different direction than you would think if you know anything about Louisa May Alcott. So you know that Louisa herself, in her book that I read last week called Hospital Sketches, she describes herself as a woman's rights woman. And she was the first woman to vote, I believe, in Massachusetts when women were given the right to vote, and she voted in a local election. You didn't have to ask her twice. She was ready for that. But that's not what this is about. This is not a feminist, what's the word? I don't know. I can't think of words. But it's not like a story about the power of women to be influential in society, or to be powerful as far as like leaders in an industry, or leaders in government, or leaders wherever. It's not about the ability of a woman to do, whatever she wants to do, etc. It is more about how a woman has the ability to lead a man on a string, basically, to manipulate them and get them to do whatever she wants. That's really what it's about. That's the power of a woman that it's talking about. And that is explored in this story, and not in a positive way at all. So we're doing kind of like a really deep look at the negative aspect of a woman's ability to, well, manipulation is always negative, but I think it's generally held to be true that men are often susceptible to a woman's wiles, as they are called, whether intentionally or not. Like, women have a lot of influence over men in personal relationships. That's just the reality that I've seen from observation and in my own life. And it can be used for good or evil. And this book is definitely exploring that in the sense of evil, like a woman using her feminine wiles to manipulate the men around her just to accomplish her own purposes for her own reasons. Really interesting. Definitely worth reading, and definitely a totally different sort of story than the novels that we are used to reading from Louisa May Alcott that we're much more familiar with. So that was the one thing that I finished. And so as to the works that I have in progress, I am reading Les Miserables. This is a reread. I think it's my third reread. It may be my fourth. I'm not sure. You'd think that I would remember reading such a large book. I'm pretty sure I read it once abridged when I was a teenager, and then I read the full-length novel shortly after that. But my husband reminded me that I have also read the full-length version since we were married. And when he said that, I remember doing that. So I don't know if I actually did read the full-length novel as a teenager, or if I didn't read it until I was an adult. That part I'm not sure about. So this is my third or fourth reread. I don't know. My third or fourth read of Les Mis. I really loved it unreservedly every other time that I read it. But this one I honestly have some reservations about it as I'm reading through. And I've grown a lot as a reader since the last time I read it. And instead of just absorbing the story and the characters, also because I'm very familiar with the story, I'm taking the time this time, honestly, to be a little more critical, I guess. So I'm noticing more things. And it's not as, I really appreciate what Victor Hugo is doing in the macro aspect, but when it comes down to the microcosm, like the details of different things, I actually can see some flaws, like from a literary perspective. But I think the book is so successful because of what he's saying overall is such a profound truth that is so important. I think that it speaks to people, it speaks to the human heart and the human experience, and it's a really important message that he is bringing. So I think it is incredibly valuable in spite of maybe some flaws that it would have. So I am enjoying Les Miserables overall. So it's separated into volumes. There are 5 volumes, I think, and I've only finished the first volume. I'm hoping to finish the second volume this week. Wish me luck. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so apologies if there was like a random short cut off there. My phone got overheated apparently because it was just too hot in the car. I don't like to turn the air on when I'm filming because it makes such a loud noise. So I'm just like in my car and it didn't feel that hot to me, but apparently it was making my phone overheat. So whatever. So the phone was just like, we're not recording anymore because your phone is too hot. And I was like, okay, fine. So I went inside and went into a coffee shop, which was fun. Did a little editing and stuff. So my free time is almost up though. So I don't even know where I was. I think I was talking about Les Mis, but I think I had mostly finished. I don't remember what else I wanted to say, but I will talk more about Les Mis another time. So moving on to the other things that I'm currently reading. I am also reading another thing for Alcott April, a nonfiction work about Louisa or her family or her time, and that is the prompt. And what I am reading is Louisa May Alcott, her life and letters and something else, journals maybe. It was written originally, or not written, but like edited and fleshed out a little bit in the late 19th century, so 1890s, like a few years after Louisa May Alcott died. And it was written by someone who knew the family. I don't know how intimate she was with Louisa. That has not been explained yet as far as I can see. I'm curious about that, but I don't know yet how intimately she was acquainted. But she had access to Louisa's journals, her letters, and some other things that she shares in this book, and interspersed with her own commentary and her own memories of Louisa. She met her first when she was like a preteen kind of girl. So she was acquainted with her for quite some time. And it's very interesting. I'm realizing that is the sort of nonfiction that I really love. Like a biography that editorializes a lot and inserts the author's viewpoints over the person's life and their bias and their perspective and everything. I struggle with those because I just want the facts, and it's very difficult for someone to share a story, either their own or someone else's, without having a bias to it. There's always going to be a bias of some kind. But as much as possible, I like to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. I feel like that is the most accurate, and it's not enough. Like, you still need to have the information fleshed out, etc. But I really like letters, journals, that kind of stuff. Things that that are proven that the person said and did. That's what I really like. And then I like to imagine myself, and I like to read what other people imagine, as long as they don't try to put it across as fact as well. I like to imagine or read what other people imagine about the broader picture of the person, of who they were, etc., why they did what they did, and their motives, etc., their emotions as they were going through something, whatever, if they don't explicitly say. So anyway, I really am enjoying this. I love also that it is closer to the period in time. I think it's good to get a perspective that has some time removed. But I think it's also very good to get a perspective close up to when something happened, in order to get the fullest picture of a person's life or their personality, or etc. So I'm really enjoying reading it. I'm about halfway through or so. I hope to finish it by the end of the week. I really enjoyed Louisa's journals when she was a young girl. She was honest in those journals, and she did not pull any punches, even though her mother would read her journal and would write little comments. And you see those too, which is really cool. I really have enjoyed that. And you just really see little Louisa's personality and the gentle way that her mother corrected her and encouraged her and admonished her and redirected her. My son and I actually did something very similar. We kind of, because he doesn't like, my older son, he is like me. And also he's male on top of that. So he doesn't like to talk about his innermost feelings and thoughts or whatever. So when he was younger, there would be times when I would sense that there was, something going on, or I wanted to know something going on in his mind, but I knew that he wouldn't just talk about it. So we had a little journal that we would write back and forth a little bit, not as extensively as Louisa and her mother did, but very similarly. And I would leave little notes of encouragement for him and just like affirming him because he needed a lot of that too. And then he would respond back to me. It was more for me than it was for him because honestly, he doesn't need to express himself that much as I need to hear what's going on in his mind. So I have learned to give him some space with that, but it was a very helpful tool when he was younger. So it was really cool to see Louisa and her mom doing a very similar thing. I really love that. So I'm working on that book, about halfway through or so. Hope to finish it this week. I will give you an update if I do. The other thing that I am working on is, I know for sure, one other thing that I am reading is A Beautiful Disguise, I think it's called, by Roseanna M. White, which is for Protagonist Pub's Book Club. And I am only like in the first chapter, and it kind of like dumps you right into that story, and looks like it's going to be pretty fast paced and intriguing. So we'll see where it goes from there. I usually do enjoy Roseanna White's writing very much, and her stories and her characters. So we'll see where it goes from that. I just started though, so who knows how far I will get with that if I have time to pick it up. Okay, that is all that I have actually actively started at this point, and I want to finish one or the other of those before I pick up something else. But what I pick up next is going to be one of two things, either The Heir of Redclyffe by Charlotte M. Yonge, and that is also for Alcott April, and that is an author that influenced Louisa May Alcott. So I might pick that one up. I've heard really good things about it. I know Kate Howe loves it. I believe Miriam recently just read it and she really loved it. She was raving about it on her channel. So I'm looking forward to that one. And the other one that I want to pick up is Anne of Windy Poplars, which is it hits multiple things on my plan for April. It is, and my personal goals as well. It works for Chantel's Read Your Shelf challenge because I need a character with a red head. And so Anne is, the ultimate redhead, right? And it also is an epistolary novel, which fits a prompt for the Tea and Ink Society's Read the Classics challenge. And also it is part of my personal ongoing project of rereading the entire Anne of Green Gables series. So I hit multiple birds with one stone there, and also I love the Anne series, so it's not exactly hard to do. But that will be sort of like a reward for me when I finish reading some nonfiction. I also am working on a video that will probably go live next week, I think. I'm working on a video with a lot of stuff about Louisa May Alcott and books, and I have a huge stack from the library. You may have seen the short that I posted. Huge stack from the library of fiction and nonfiction that I'm flipping through, and not fully reading, but flipping through, and some of them are just really interesting me, and like I kind of want to read them. I just don't have time. Like if I could just sit home and read all day instead of having to like work and put my kids through school, that would be fantastic. So yeah, maybe in like 10 years when they are completely graduated from high school and college and all that stuff, I will have time to read all day. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I don't think so. But we'll see. We could dream. That's a dream. That's my dream. To be able to sit and read. Maybe not all day, but a good solid couple hours a day. That'd be awesome. I would love that. Anyways, that is it for now. And I will keep you posted as far as what I end up actually finishing as the week goes on. Talk to you later. Bye. Okay, sorry for the bad lighting, but I'm in a bit of a rush, but I wanted to get this filmed. So it is Saturday morning. I have a busy day. I just have a few minutes, and I want to mention that I finished reading Louisa May Alcott, Her Life, Letters, and Journals, edited by Edna D. Cheney, which I had mentioned in my previous clip that I was about halfway through. So I finished that, and it was really fascinating. I really enjoyed the glimpse into Louisa May Alcott's personality. And
the course of her life, her relationships with her family, her dedication to her work, but her dedication to her work, not only because she loved to write stories, but more so because she was driven to provide for her family in a way that her father, it has to be said, never did. And so she kind of took his role in the provision for the family, and made sure that her younger sister was educated and that her mother's health was provided for. She even provided clothes for her family. She, in later years, paid for a servant to help with the housekeeping, and she paid for nurses for her parents when they were elderly and dying. She worked to provide for her family. She took care of her youngest sister's daughter in the last years of her life and provided for her. She even, I did not know this, she even officially adopted her nephew, Anna's son, and Anna correlates to Meg in Little Women. So her son, Frederick, and I forget the other one's name, it was the younger son that she adopted, apparently, and gave the name Alcott. I'm a little bit curious to know more about that. But anyway, it was very interesting. The arrangement of the book, the setup of the book, it was a little bit hard to follow. I get that it was a little tricky to make it strictly chronological because you're interspersing her letters with her journals. And her journals sometimes were very vague. Like she would have like a month and just say very basic outline what they did in that month, or even 3 months. Then she would have more specific journal entries where she detailed events and things and her feelings and stuff. So the letters, though, were much more specific. Like each letter was about, some specific particular time or event. And so I can see where it's a little bit difficult to intersperse those. So I'm not sure how I would do it differently, but it wasn't 100% successful here because it's difficult to follow the timeline. And I would be reading and I would think, oh, I thought that her mother had died already, but she's still talking about taking care of her mother. And because it was going like back and forth between letters and journals, and then interspersed with Edna D. Cheney's thoughts and additional information, etc. So it was a little bit difficult to follow it in a linear sort of way. So I'm still a little bit confused. This is not a good biography if you want to know like the details of her life. Because I'm a little lost on those still, personally. I think it really gives a good impression of who she was as a person and her relationships with everyone and her thoughts on things, and a general rough outline of her life and her literary career. But if you're looking for more detailed information, I think a more classic style biography would be, and not just, letters and journal entries would be helpful. In fact, I do hope to read one, not in the immediate future, but I will. I really want to read the one about her and her mother by Yves Laplante. So that would be one of the biographies on my to-read list for sure. However, I really, really, really enjoyed this. I love letters and journals and memoirs of that sort. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I probably give it 4 stars. My only other complaint was that Edna D. Cheney, in her little editorial comments that are interspersed, a lot of times what she's doing is she's restating what is already contained in the letters and journals without providing additional context or information. And if she could eliminate that, it would eliminate half of her contribution to the book, and the book would already be a lot clearer, honestly, a little less muddied with unnecessary words. But then if she could have instead added a little more context and details of things that were the sequence of events or specific places or specific people, like Louisa May Alcott uses initials for everybody in this story, but there's not any guide to what those initials are. There may be in other editions, but this one that I got from the library, there was no guide to who these initials represented. So I didn't know. I had to guess sometimes who she was talking about, and I didn't always know. So when it comes to like the details and stuff in this book, it's a little bit lacking, but the actual letters and journal entries, fantastic. Totally enjoyed reading them and getting the glimpse into Louisa May Alcott's life and who she was as a person. And yeah, she was definitely a very interesting person, a very complex person. She's not a simple cookie cutter type of girl you can put in a box. Like, she's very, she has a lot of different facets to her. So thoroughly enjoyed getting a little bit inside Louisa May Alcott's head. And yeah, so check that one off the list.
Still Saturday morning, but I am trying out a new to me coffee shop. It's been around for a while. I know my sisters probably have been here more than once, but I have never been here, and I'm finally in the neighborhood where it is. I don't have time, unlike some people. Sister dear, if you're watching this, you know who you are. I don't have time to go tracking down coffee shops all over Northern Virginia, contrary to popular belief. But if I happen to be in the neighborhood, you better believe I'm making a little pit stop. So, gonna check it out. Figured you'd want to come along, right? Of course. It is windy today. Oh my goodness. And we're supposed to have our pictures taken outside in a mini portrait session this afternoon. That'll be interesting. The wind blown look. Anyways, I am running late now because it took longer than I thought, but that was really cool. And I showed you the little clip of the coffee drink that I got. It's called a dancing flower cold brew, and it has little flower on top, and it has black tea in it and espresso and some kind of like milk or cream or something, and a little bit of lavender syrup. They also have like 4 pumps of simple syrup, and I was like, we don't need that. But the lavender syrup, yeah, got that little bit of flavor there. Anyways, let's see how it tastes. Ooh, it's good. The blend of tea and coffee is actually really cool. I like that. And it is plenty sweet. Definitely does not need any simple syrup. It's perfect. Love it. Okay, now off to my next appointment today. Okay, so it is Saturday evening, and I just want to wrap up this video in true Anne fashion. It's already quite long, so and I don't have really anything more to report on my reading. I'll get to what I do have in a second. But first of all, I want to say that I'm super disappointed that I missed out on the reading sprints for Alcott April this afternoon. I was originally intending, I had said, yes, April 13th in the afternoon, I'm free, I will be there. And then I won a giveaway for a mini photo session for my family. And we have not had pictures taken of us as a family professionally since the children were toddlers, and they're teenagers now. Sorry, today is super windy here in Northern Virginia, so hopefully you can hear me over the gusts of wind. Anyway, so I won a giveaway, and then, you know, it's one of those things where the photographer was like, okay, you can choose from these slots, these open slots that I have left, and between the available slots and our crazy schedule, this afternoon was the one that worked best. So I was still hoping to make it to part of it, but that just did not pan out for me today. We've had a crazy day. So anyway, I did not get to join in on the reading sprints, but we did get our pictures taken, and the photographer was fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing the final results and choosing ours. Yeah, later on today, I went grocery shopping, and I just want to mention this because you know me and coffee, right? So I like to get locally roasted coffee beans, and one of my favorite places is this little hut in the downtown area of the town where I live, and all they do is they roast coffee beans, and they are very reasonably priced, like the same amount of money that you would pay in the grocery store for old stale coffee beans, and they are freshly roasted and so good. So I try to stop there when I can. They have very strange hours. So anyway, I was able to pick up some coffee beans there today to keep me supplied, and otherwise had a, you know, normal Aldi grocery shopping experience. Anyways, so to the reading. I am working on this tome. Yeah, that is massive. Let me see. How many pages is this edition? I think I probably already said last time I talked about it. 1,245. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm about 25% of the way through because I am at page 315. And I had said I wanted to get through volume 2 this week. Yeah, that didn't happen. I did get like through a part of volume 2. I made it through the Waterloo section, which was a digression. I think I may have already said that, or I said it was going. Anyways, I read the Waterloo digression, and I'm almost to the part where Valjean is going to go pick up Cosette. So I am making my way there. I did find that I didn't realize, I have forgotten that Classics and Company, I think that's what they're called. Why am I'm struggling right now. But anyways, I think that's what they're called. They read through like 8 different classics through the course of the year, and they have a Discord channel where they discuss them. I didn't realize that they were also reading Les Mis right now. So I joined in on that Discord session, and they're moving at closer to my pace than the other group that I have been reading with. So yeah, that's working a little bit better for me, although either way, I've enjoyed the discussion, and I already know what happens in the story, so I don't mind if people are ahead and they are you know, talking about what they have read. That's like, it doesn't spoil anything for me, and it's just interesting to hear their thoughts. So I don't mind. It's just nice to feel like you're not the only one who's at a certain page when everybody else is like, whoo, way ahead of you. And finally, at least I think this is my final thought, I started reading more of A Beautiful Disguise by Roseanna M. White, still kind of getting a feel for who all of the characters are, still being introduced to all the characters. I'm a few chapters in, and it's interesting and intriguing. It's a little bit of a spy story, so you know how I feel about spy stories, but so far the characters are interesting. We'll see what happens. And I had intended, if I was able to join with the reading sprints today, to begin reading The Inheritance, but I didn't. However, I'm going to pick up that next, and I am going to pick up In a Windy Poplars, and those I am hoping to read and get significant portions of them done in this coming week. So that's what I will be reading this week and updating you on next week, hopefully. So that has been my week in reading and coffee drinking and other fun stuff. So I will see you next time. Bye.